I am so happy and excited, mainly because I'm getting to see you, all of you, head to toe you. So, welcome. Thank you for coming. And a big thanks, of course, to Dana, Marianne, for all this beauty, all this cool air, and just all the love you share in the community. Thank you. So, let's get started because we have a lot to talk about today. And what I'd like you to do is if I say something and you have a question about it or a comment you'd like to make, just raise your hand, okay? And we'll take it from there. As many of you know, my grandson, Zach, sets up all the Zoom meetings and does all the techie stuff because it's not my bailiwick. And he said, well, Deeds, he calls me Deeds, how much time do you want? And usually these talks are an hour and a half. And I said, but put down 2 hours. So if there are questions or if we run over, I won't be watching the clock. Well, I think the heavenly host descended and said, we've got 2 hours because the information that has poured in the last couple of days has just left me busily writing. I've channeled a lot of what I'm to say, and I'm not sure whether Haniel will visit us or not, but let's get started. Please feel free to ask questions. You know I love them, and let's go. Now I have a surprise. I'm going to start this talk talking about 2022. Because 2022 is upon us. But more importantly, the last 6 months of 2021 is really a preparation for the higher energy field that's going to be operating during 2022. So I thought, well, if I talk a bit about the next year, then you can prepare. You know, I'm here not to tell you what to do. I'm here to give you insights on what you already know you need to do. But it's really important to know that next year is a unique dynamic. And if you choose it, it's a high consciousness, upbeat, really productive year in your growth and in the evolution of the planet. It is a proof positive year. Now, I don't mean to sound like, Pollyanna. It's not a Pollyanna bit. There will be ups and downs. But if you take the time in this next 6 months to sort of make sure you're lined up and you're in touch with who you are and what you want from yourself and in life, next year is just a humdinger, okay? It's a great year. So, but we have to make it that way. We have to be committed to realizing that our thoughts, our feelings, all go out, not just affecting us, but affecting what I call the group chat or the community chat, which is my new name for the collective. Your thoughts, your feelings, how you choose to act, do, think, really does influence the macro version of life here on the planet. So let's get started, okay? 2022. First number in numerology, you know, is the 2. And if you've had the time to read my insights for June, you know 2 is the number of inner peace. 2 is the peacemaker. So 2 is calling us for this entire century to make peace with yourself within. Get in touch with that peaceful part of you. It is the number of collaboration, cooperation, cohesiveness. It is the number of the divine feminine, the heart. So 2 is really the number about personal love. loving yourself, and loving others. Now remember, my definition of love is accept and allow a person to be who they are. That's it. Okay? That is, to me, human love. Now, we all know there's a deeper energy, also known as love, which is the essence of everything here on the planet. It is simply a creative dynamic within us all. So that too, that we see for next year is representing get in touch with the higher part of yourself, for the self that has unlimited potential because it's based in love, in your truth. You remember my definition of God or source or divinity is it's composed of three elements: light, love, and I like to call it laughter, but most people call it joy. So being happy, celebrating and honoring who you are is an essential ingredient to living out that inner peace of truth and self-love. It's okay for us to love ourselves. It's okay for us to be happy. It's okay to dump the old teachings, the old format of the third dimension. In fact, if we want to live fully in the days, years ahead, it's something I would ask you to choose to do. Because life gets so magical and smooth when you can stay centered within yourself and in love with yourself. So the two is saying, come on, inner peace, find it. And you can only find inner peace by going to your heart. And you know the heart is just filled with love, accepting and allowing you to be who you are and everyone else to love and be who they are as well. First requirement. After the two comes the zero. Now, most people are not comfortable with the zero, but zero is unlimited potential. Zero represents being whole and complete within yourself. Zero raises your energy, puts you in touch, not just with the source within you, but this ultimate source, the divine creator of this universe. So when you get in contact with that still point and feel your energy lift, you are raising your consciousness, you're raising your vibes to meet with the 22. Now, for those of you who know numerology, you know that the 22 is a master number, and it's double twos. So you get to keep all that love, and you get to share all that love because it's infinite with everybody else around you. 22 is what we call in numerology the master, the practical idealist, okay? And what that means is the 22 is able to take new concepts, new ways of doing things, is inventive, but it's invention that inspires, uplifts mankind in some way. So it's not just 9 to 5. This 22 puts itself out there through commitment, through self-love, self-recognizing and honoring who you are to make a contribution here on Earth. And examples of the 22 are people like Edison and Tesla, the masterminds, the master musicians, Beethoven. It spans all walks of life. But what it is it's here to inspire you to become more than what you may presently or how you presently see yourself. And at the end of the day, that's love, right? You can be everything because it's inside you. This is the main message And the energy field of 2022 is calling you. You're going to feel shifts. The days are going to be very much on a roller coaster. You're not supposed to know what's going to happen. You're supposed to live here inside you, in your core, and not go into reaction, not go into being doubtful or scared or negative because you don't like what's going on or you don't understand what's going on. Okay? And of course, there's choice. And you know that I've been talking about choice. Probably you all want to run when I mention it again. But this 2021, which totals the 5 in numerology, is about choice and freeing yourself from patterns of behavior that are limited and restricted, that are built or created from the doubts and fears you're holding about yourself. So here's the gig for us all. We have to heal, release the doubt, self-doubt, and fears we're holding on to. We got 6 months. We got 7. And if you think you can't do it, guess again. There's no one here on the planet at this time who cannot, if they so choose freedom, choose love, choose trust. There's a wonderful book out that I'd like to recommend. It was written by Dr. Edith Eger, E-G-E-R. I think she's about 94 at this time, right now, up there in her 90s. But she wrote about her experience during the Holocaust and her tenure at Auschwitz. And she writes about how every day she had to get up and make the choice to be happy, to be at peace, and to help where she could. So if she could do it, we all can do it. There's no excuses at this time. No stories. And if you choose, to stay in self-doubt and fear, okay, you're going to find that your life becomes very routine and you may be very restless, you may be unhappy. Realize it comes from the choice. So the ultimate question I'm going to put to you for you to resolve in the next 6 months is, what, if anything, am I afraid to free myself of? So what if you were living your full potential and you feel you are not at this time? What is the fear that holds you back from embracing and loving your true self? This is the best way to leap into 2022. But there'll always be some fear. Fear is a very healthy thing. Its job is to make sure we survive. But fear becomes unhealthy when we let it make our decisions for us, when we let it set our intentions and make choices. So if you remember, I'm always quoting her, Eleanor Roosevelt, if you fear it, do it. That is the way that you can minimize the fear. It won't always go away, but it won't be the dominant influence in your life. So, okay, you're just filled with all these joy bubbles, right? The one thing, too, to remember about 2022, if we add up the digits, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2, we get a 6. And what is the 6? The energy of love. So the answer to all that's facing us really is very basic, very simple. It's love. Love of self, love of people, love of life. And I would ask you all to consider what I'm next about to say. Everyone here, not just in this room, everyone here is doing the best they can, given their level or degree of fear or self-doubt they still carry. Okay? That will help us all take away judging other people's actions, other people's choices. Because as long as we're sitting judging, for instance, you wear a mask, you don't, and each side has the tendency to judge the other for not wearing it or for wearing it, all we're doing is extending the behavior pattern, the power code of the third dimension, which is divisiveness. If someone's wearing a mask, that's what they think is best for them. That's their choice. There may be doubt and fear in it, but if someone chooses not to wear a mask, the person wearing the mask thinks the maskless people are stupid and don't know any better, and that's their fear. We're still operating from fear when we run around judging what we think should be happening now. What should, and you know how I feel about should, what should be happening is what's happening. Everyone is where they're supposed to be at this time. We don't know their growth. We don't know their spiritual contract. We don't know their DNA, their karma. And we don't know how they see themselves. We can guess, but getting all embroiled in whether masks or no masks, shots or no shots, all that is really a waste of time. I'm sorry, we've run out that game, that tape. You do what's best for you, and you please assume the other person is doing what's best for them. This will shift that divisive separatist energy that puts us in confrontation and conflict, both with ourselves and with each other. And that is the energy that we need to dismantle in order to leave the third dimension and move into the heart consciousness of fourth dimension. Because the heart knows only love. There may be layers around your heart, or some people like to say, there may be walls around your heart to protect you from past disappointments and hurts. But the heart itself is full, is bubbly bright red, and just wanting to love. That's its mission. So please, next 6 months, do what it takes so that when 2022 comes, you at least are at choice with which path you'll take, the path of love or the path of self-doubt and fear. Because the gateway opens, and it opens in grand style. I think it's going to open around early in the second quarter of next year. The energies there are very high, very mystical, very loving, very open, and will support any changes or shifts you make during that time. So sit back, observe what's going on in the world for the rest of the year. In my opinion, it will become more draconian, or there will be attempts to make more regulations and more restrictions, depending on your point of view. So you want to be able to grab the gold ring. I always think in terms of the merry-go-round and the gold ring. So I'm about to go ride the merry-go-round next week at Hull. Yeah. Oh, I love merry-go-rounds. So think of it as a merry-go-round, and it's gold ring time. And next year, if I've learned to love and appreciate and value who we are, everything opens up, which means that in the community chat room, the collective energy now has the real chance, real opportunity to shift out of all this doubt, fear, lack mentality we've been sitting in, and move into trust, love, and a belief in abundance. So there's hard work for us ahead because you have to figure out what's the fear that holds me back. And fear is usually based in some self-doubt we're holding, but not necessarily. So, okay, please, please, please consider meeting the dragon. Yeah. Okay, so that's 2022 as much as I want to go into it at this time. And so back to 2021. Listen, if you're expecting things to settle down, to get quiet, to return to normal, just expect it and set that for your internal self. It's an internal time. The reason things are so upside down and backwards, we can call it chaotic, we can call it whatever. It's all designed, in my opinion, to pull each one of us inside to say, am I at peace with myself? Am I loving myself? Am I loving my life? Because these are the three key values. They're questions that turn into values as we progress into this love and appreciation. Because life is precious here. And we're here because, in my opinion, Earth is one of the most highly evolved planets. There are lots of people in metaphysics and consciousness who think of it as the basement planet. And, we look at some of our choices and actions as maybe not so good, but it's learning. But I consider it one of the higher consciousness planets because here, every single one of us is here to align the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual alignment within ourselves. And let's face it, it's a big challenge. Okay? And what have you heard me talking about, probably too much for the last 10 months, is about dream, get a new vision, make new choices. You've heard about fresh starts and new beginnings, whether they are eclipses or the first month of the numerological calendar. Everything is indicating to us, do something different. Find what you love and go for it. Do something different. And this is the name of the game. Because when you do it differently and you do it coming from your heart, everything unfolds and it works. It's a great opportunity. And we have to be in this space because some of the outside events are kind of loopy. They're kind of nasty, depending on how you look at them. So I want to talk about the events for 2021 that we're going to encounter and talk and give the bigger picture of why it's happening. Because each one of us has to get out of our small personal mindset and into the big picture. 22 is a master number. It's a big picture number. It isn't small, contained, and all about me. We're good. All right? So first off, you heard me, I think you've heard me for 2 or 3 years saying the UFOs are coming. And the government here will officially acknowledge that there are UFOs and there is extraterrestrial life. The question is when they're going to tell us they discovered it. So my suggestion is this: listen to the narrative. Is it trust, love-oriented, or is it fear, intimidation-based? If it's fear and intimidation-based, you know it's third-dimensional stuff. And I would ask you, don't buy it. You've heard me say, extraterrestrials have been here on the planet for thousands of years. They've really been very active here, what we know from 1947 on. So if the government or the special government agencies start telling us that they are a threat to our well-being, our way of life, or even our health, give yourself some time, sit down and you go within, you work it out within yourself. They've been around for a long time. All of a sudden they're a threat. All of a sudden they're bad news. And this is one reason too, during my last Zoom talk, I asked you to look into the history, our history, the history of Atlantis, the history of Lemuria or Mu. And I think it's volume 12. If you're not sure, you can go to my website and get it. It tells a lot about the history of Mu, which was a divine, feminine-based culture. And Atlantis, which was about the masculine, divine, masculine culture. And these cultures are 180 degrees apart. But if you understand some of that history, you'll understand where we are in our own history. There are people today who believe that we're in a mess now because the people who wrecked things in Atlantis are here to make amends, and they aren't doing a very good job of it. Well, that's one theory. And you need to decide whether that resonates for you or not. Because everything here is set up where we're going to be presented with two sides of the story, and you have to go within and say, heart, where are we on this? What do we know? That is the only criteria for any thought or action we need to take going forward. You heard me? No, you didn't hear me. You read in the June Insight letter. If you love yourself, you feel safe and secure anywhere in the world. That is why love is so important. That's why it's great to believe in yourself. So the UFOs are coming. Our world and how we see it is expanding. And you can look at it as dangerous and scary, or you can look at it as something exciting and expansive to give us an even greater lease on life. It's a choice. Choice, 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 choice. It's all choice. So the UFOs will become mainstream in another few months. Okay, and I think that the polls show that 67% of Americans believe in extraterrestrial UFO life anyway, so it's no big deal, except of what it can do for our imagination, what it can do for how you picture the world as we've known it. And again, presenting to us the unlimited possibilities with all that space out there. It's kind of fun and exciting. So give that a thought. Yeah, let's see. Medically, in the field of medicine, actually, I channeled this a couple of days ago, and I sort of couldn't believe when the information came in that it was for real, but I was very pleased. What bioscience and the new bioscience is finding is that certain conditions, ailments, illnesses are more heightened during different periods of the lunar cycle. So, for instance, parasites are far more active in our bodies during the full moon. People with appendicitis are more apt to, there's more apt to be a rupture or appendicitis during full moons. It's really interesting to me because as we progress, we're going to become more conscious and create time from the lunar cycles. And I think I was talking about this, a couple of years ago? So watch it and start learning about the lunar cycles and start learning about how things flow. But when medical treatment starts looking at the lunar aspects, I find that exciting. I find that, to use a word, hopeful, um, that bioscience will be tremendously shifting in the next 2 years. Have you all heard of the med beds? Yeah. Oh no. Med beds are an invention. Well, they've been in operation for a long time, but mainly among the elitists. And med beds are simply beds that you can lie down on, and they operate on sound and color and your DNA, and they literally can heal any condition you have through vibratory resonance. Think what that will do to big pharma, you know. And there's going to be a lot of resistance, but this is real. This is not just la-di-da hokey. So keep in mind, you've heard me say that sound healing is going to be the future for a lot of the conditions and illnesses we deal with, because we're learning more and more about vibration. We're learning more and more about vibration to the moon, to the energies of the universe. And this will shift how we treat medicine. There's also the med beds work, as I said, with color as well. So we'll be giving out our birthdays and personal information so that people will calculate what your particular frequency resonates to, color-wise, sound-wise, and vibratory rate-wise. So it becomes a very individualized medical treatment. But I find it very hopeful, and I hope you do too. We also, the med beds, there are just people in power who are going to fight bringing this concept to people, the little people, as they like to call us. Little do they know, we're not so little. This will probably take 3 to 5 years. But when you hear about it, look into it. It's up to each one of us to really do the research, make up our own minds on this stuff, okay? There'll also be huge advances with the robotic and the laser treatments, so that healings will be instantaneous. Conditions that, have been challenges for us all to resolve can be resolved within minutes, within days for some. The medical field is really going to shift, and we really have to thank COVID for bringing it down and having people in the medical field look again and to expand, to shift how you do things medically. I mean, if it hadn't been for this pandemic, we would have kept going with the same old routine. It's not an option anymore. So investigate. Most of you, I bet, have had a Reiki treatment, right? Or acupuncture. Already, alternative medicine will be mainstream in a year and a half at the latest. So open up to it. Open up to it. And if we open up to it, then the people who want to maintain the conventional, traditional form of medicine will have to take a backseat, okay? It's going to be this way because the pushback from COVID, from vaccines, from even the political status and state of things has already begun, but we're going to see it really amp up in the fall. The pushback will get really strong and active. So it's very important that you're clear on what you think about these situations. Okay? You got to know where you stand if you're going to still live fully on this planet. This is what 2021 is asking of us. Choose to be clear. Choose to free yourself from old patterns. And the old pattern that's most important, there are two. One is being outer-directed. And you've heard me say outer-directed is looking outside yourself to feel good about yourself, to feel important or acknowledged, to rely on other people's opinions for what you think. That's a done deal. We're perfectly okay to read all sorts of points of view, research, opinion, but in the end, you make up your mind for yourself. In the end, you respect and love yourself first. This is essential, and we may all think we're doing it, but in a sense, we're all still holding back. We gotta let it soar, really. The second thing to look out for is in the third dimension, divisiveness. If someone was different from us, it created separation, it created distance. And fourth dimension is about connection. Fourth dimension is about connecting, collaborating, joining forces, being community. So the big leap for lots of us is going to be when someone has an opinion different from ours, or when someone is doing something we don't like, to look at it and figure out how to relate to it with love. So my suggestion at this time is when someone's disagreeing or whatever they're doing that you don't like and you don't approve of and you're judging or you think is bad, first of all, take a deep breath and say, whatever that person is doing, it's fear-based, or is it fear-based, you ask. If it's fear-based, then our hearts need to go out to that person. They don't need our condemnation. They don't need our judgment. They don't need us telling them they're wrong or stupid or bad. All that is divisive, judgmental, third dimensional goop. I am so done with it. And it only extends the wars, the violence, the pestilence, the fuss on the planet that none of us really like or resonate to. None of us really want another war or another pandemic, or none of us want to see the injustices continue. And the only way to do that is release yourself and accept that another person's fear is still their basis for choosing to do what they do. And that may be a big leap for some of us, but you know what? It's time to do it. Okay. So my feeling is they'll bring in the UFOs, so we stop thinking about COVID and vaccines for a while, and we focus on, playing Chicken Little with UFOs and extraterrestrials, and then it will resurface. All of a sudden there'll be some new variant, and I'm not saying it's fake news or real news. I'm just saying there'll be a variant and we'll all get in a hubbub again, and some people will want to take a booster and some people won't. Give people space to be themselves. That begins with you. Give yourself the space and love to be yourself. So big shifts are coming. There will be the Wall Street market. We will get and we will understand how it is manipulated. And it's going to be a roller coaster ride. All I can say to you is, if you believe in the stocks or the bonds or whatever you've invested in, keep an eye on them. There's no blanket statement that says this is going to work and this is going to be great. And I still put my money on the future rather than the traditional stocks, but that's my choice, and I like to speculate, so it works for me. Know what works for you. The market will be going up and down, and you will see astronomical gains. in some of the tech stocks, some of the new scientific stocks that are coming in and being presented to us. Um, whether the new, I don't see the new, what is it, Bitcoin and all that. I don't see that taking over this year. But you've got to keep an eye on it, and many people are choosing to invest in it. Um, be careful of it around October, November. For some reason, I think somebody could pull the plug on that concept just because they're going to make a fortune with it. Okay? Let's see, what else? Oh, there is exciting news because the down in the Bermuda Triangle, are you all familiar with the Bermuda Triangle? Okay, down there, the old cities around Cuba, the coast of Cuba, and in there, and the Yucatan Peninsula, those cities are going to begin to rise, or they've already begun to rise. They are rising. So again, within the next 6-8 months, we're going to see, oh, there were ancient cultures. They were there. The fountain of youth does exist. Things that we thought were magical and unrealistic and out of sight, they are real. They are part of our history. But it's exciting that these cities are rising and they're intact. So it gives us even more to think about. Maybe we aren't the slow pokes of the dummies that we've been thinking we are. We were a highly evolved civilization. We lost the consciousness in time because it was part of our lesson. You see, in Lemuria, we didn't have physical bodies, not like we have now. If they were bodies of light, these were very high beings, but they were bodies of light and they were amorphous, okay? But especially when the men began to tune in to all the crystals and the light and the energy of the crystals, they were asking, let's get more physical, let's get more body. And so in Mu, they chose to get more physical. In getting more physical, they wiped themselves out, but a lot made their way over to Atlantis and other civilizations. But when we chose to have the body take over and captivate our interest, we lost a lot of our higher consciousness, our higher awareness of who we are. So that's where we are. It's an evolutionary process. There's no need to blame, shame, or do any of that. That's boring. Just know that now we're in that time where we have to bring the material and the spiritual in harmony and in alignment. And the only way to do that is through the heart and with love, by connecting with the in. So it's an exciting time if you look at it that way. The weather is going to be unpredictable. Don't even try to figure out what's going to happen. Again, we're going to see water being the main culprit. There'll be floods, there'll be very high tides. Then I don't see tsunamis, but I don't like seeing tsunamis. There could be one down around Australia and in the Pacific Rim, but it's going to be water that is going to cleanse everything, which of course water can do. Water is air, fresh air, sunshine, and water, to me, are the three major healers. There's nothing, though, that equals a good dose of love. All right? So watch the water, torrential rains, torrential hurricanes. They won't last as long, but they will be fierce. And it's just the way it is. So prepare, make sure you have lots of food around. If you want back up to your stove or your heat or whatever, think that way and then let it go. It's sort of like taking out an insurance policy. You go buy your health insurance or your car insurance or your home insurance, and then you forget about it, right? You don't put any energy on what could happen if. And that's why we never need to use our insurance. Yeah. Don't put energy on this stuff.
I just wanted to ask about droughts. We're talking about water, but droughts, anything you see in
There are-
fires, droughts? Feels like it's a big deal to me.
Again, yes, there will be droughts in certain parts of the country. And unfortunately, it will be the parts of the country that are in charge of our food supply. So that is why I've always encouraged you this year, last year, start gardening, start growing your own food, be the source of your own supply. You are inside, do it outside. It's the part I'm most concerned about is the Midwest. I just see it shriveling up. So what we can do, because what we have to realize is we create the weather. Isn't that magical? Our thoughts and feelings are also responsible for our weather. So if you want to help out, send a lot of love to the Midwest. See it raining. You remember the story? I think I told this story. I think it's from Greg Braden. And he lives in New Mexico, and New Mexico has been into droughts for years now. They always manage to get rain just in the nick of time. But Greg was living in Taos at the time, and he had a friend, David, who was in one of the Indian tribes north of Albuquerque, south of, and David called Greg and said, I'm going to do a prayer, a rain prayer. What do you call it? Rain circle.
Rain dance.
What?
Rain
dance. Yes, thank you. I'm going to do a rain dance. Please come, please join me. And Greg said, sure. So down he went, and David drew a huge circle in the sand, and he went into the middle, and he stood there for several minutes. And then he came out and said, okay, let's go. Let's eat lunch. And Greg said, but I thought we were going to do a prayer for rain, a rain dance. And he said, I did. And Greg said, well, tell me about this. And this is the new way to manifest. This is the new way to envision and create, manifest what you're seeking and desiring in life. He said, I did. I went in, I pictured it raining, and I felt the emotion I would experience. I imagined the emotion I would experience if I was out in the rain and if the rain came. And I felt the joy and I felt the relief, and that's all. That's all you need to do. And that is the new way we manifest. You can do the vision board, but you have to look at the vision board and become one with the vision board and what you have on it, and feel the joy or feel the excitement or feel whatever it is you want to feel once you've manifested. And I'm of the school of thinking, as you know, you can do that once and it's done. But there are many people who say you need to do it as often as possible, once a day or twice a day. That again is up to you. What feels appropriate for you? If you want to do it twice a day, you do it twice a day. That's what works for you. For me, I do it once, and when I get the feeling, it's zippity doo dah, and let's get on with it. I don't doubt that wasn't enough, what I did. That's my perspective. It may not be yours, but you have to know yourself to know what's going to work for you. But it's about feeling the emotion of what you desire already is accomplished in here. It's a done deal. And once you do that, because why? There's no time in the creative field. So once it's done, it's done. That's why we call the fourth dimensional more magical. It's not a linear, structured process. It's about being in the flow and generating the flow. So it's really good times. It's good times. So I suggest give it a shot. See if it works for you. The third biggest challenge I think a lot of us will have, oh dear, people who see this Zoom next week are going to be seeing all sorts of things. Yeah, right? Here's the thing, and this was the part I channeled the other day, and I shared it with Mary Ann because I was so excited. We hear this year everywhere, and there are more people and guides and light workers saying this, so it's not unique. But everyone is telling you, if you listen at all to other people or many people, you've got to imagine the future you want and really imagine it and go for it. The time is right. This imagination is the first step in moving out of your present reality. And what came through is imagination is challenging for us because imagination is not a physical experience. It is not a body experience. When you imagine, where are you? You're here, right? And we get uncomfortable because we aren't experiencing in here. And often we discount what we've imagined or what we dream of, or we think we can't manifest our dreams or visions or goals because we can't physically experience it. Now, here's the thing. As we open up our hearts and express more from our hearts, from the language, from how we interact with each other, from the tone in our voice, whatever, as the heart becomes stronger and more active in our daily life, when we imagine, then the heart will be there too. And that's when your manifestation will happen a lot faster. Okay? But it's not a body experience. So, but however, don't discount it, please. You're not meant to, because you're out here in the ether. You're out here in the non-physical aspects. So it's a non-physical experience for each of us. Believe it. And next month, I have a process to share with everyone on imagining and how to get it done that you can be comfortable with. But I'm just dangling the carrot today. Okay. So, anyone got any questions about anything else about the rest of the year? As you can see, I focus mainly on you, your progress, your growth, and how to be centered and grounded if you consider all hell is breaking loose around you. You can't afford to buy in. I think this June I wrote, observe. Just observe the television if that's what you do, or the news. You're watching a movie and just look at it. Is it heart-based or fear-based? And make your choices, make your decisions, at least from that grounding experience. Okay? Anything else? Yeah.
So I have a question about what you were just saying about imagining what you want for yourself. And then you said it's like it's out here. Is there something that, I mean, would it be better if you were embodying it instead of thinking about it out there?
Well, it's out here energetically, but you're bringing it in, but it's not in your physical body. Yeah. I mean, and there are a lot of people who can do this already, but most of us are still learning it because we're still guarding the heart. Once the heart opens, there's no difference. You sit in it and it all opens up. Anything? Yeah?
When you were talking about the economic before, and fluxes, it feels like there are several bubbles, like the housing bubble.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that certain things in the media are now contradicting what the media said before, so the trust in technology is not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Do you foresee some major shift between that and all the confusion of UFOs and, you know what I mean? Like, in other words, are being bombarded with so much, and then all at once there's a drop.
Financially, you mean, in the markets?
If you don't know, that's fine, just,
There's no clear answer to that because you see, we're being observed. And how much fear are you going to keep feeding the community chat room? How much doubt? How much judgment are you going to keep putting in? So that has so much to do with it. It's we just live in these changing times. I'm not seeing any dramatic drop in the market, although there could be a lot of action around late October, which is why I say keep an eye on it. If you've got money there, keep an eye on what's happening. But it really is all about the financial barometer is really dependent on the fear emotional barometer. And that's why it's important that each of us shift individually. We can't change it macro, but we can change it micro, and the micro feeds the community chat. And that's how the shift begins. Some people, what?
I was just going to ask. I was going to add
Sure.
because I'm wondering if the work we were doing in terms of being attentive to the shift from problem solving to solutions based
Mhm.
is helping us recognize the creative power within community. And I'm seeing that energy level is helping to boost the fiscal elements because there's a creativity that's there, and I'm trusting that more and more of the collective are willing to be part of solutions. I'm just feeling a freedom or a reset or something.
Yeah,
Something you said made me, that's just something I've been feeling.
being solution oriented is key, and it's coming. Have you heard of what is it? Consumerrelief.com, I think it is. It's an organization that is looking into the big corporations and how they're being run and managed and blah blah blah. So at the moment, they're looking into American Airlines, Nike, and Coca-Cola. And what they're bringing to the public attention is, for instance, American Airline, their CEO, Greg Parker, awarded himself, and this is alleged because I haven't done the research, so I'm assuming, it's valid. He gave himself a $10 million bonus this year while he let go of 19,000 workers. Now, when this kind of research gets out there into the mainstream more, it could cause a huge drop in American Airlines. We could choose not to fly it or not to fly it as often. See, those are the kinds of shifts that we have. With Nike, they have slave wages to make the sneakers. So this kind of behavior or choices that upper management is making, we're going to become more aware of, and we have to decide where will we keep the old format or will we move into a more humanitarian outlook approach and say, hey, Nike, you can do better. Hey, American Airlines, you can do better. Coca-Cola is putting up a good front, but they have a program that says be less white, that they're requiring all their employees to take. Now, to me, that's as racism as if they had a program saying be more black. I mean, it's divisive. You've got divisiveness there. And what you've heard me say is these hierarchal structures are going to be dismantled. And the next 2 years is big on dismantling. So we'll see the monarchy being dismantled slow but sure, because it's a vertical, it's not a horizontal structure. I do think we'll see Bill Gates, and I do think we'll see Fauci be discredited and be replaced by people who have the same ideas as Fauci and Gates, but because they're a new face, they're hoping the public will say, oh, good, now we're safe. Now we've got the answers. We've got new people. Maybe, maybe not. Okay? I'm not betting it. It's the secrets are coming to light. Institutions that were based in fear and intimidation will be dismantled. They will all be dismantled if we do our share and move into trust, love, and abundance by 2025, 26. That's when the big shift occurs. If we all sit back and think it'll all work out, I believe in the best, and just don't heal ourselves or don't build from that trust and love and honor and celebrate who we are, then we're going to have this more regulated society with much less options and freedom to choose from. It's that simple right now. Okay, anyone else? Yeah.
I do. Well, you said freedom of choices. That brings me to what's going on politically, at least here in the U.S. What's going on with voter suppression and what's happening with the GOP being influenced still by Donald Trump and all that lack of cooperation between the two sides of the aisle. So I don't know what you want to comment about that.
Well, it's not going to shift anytime soon. Okay. The American people, we the people, have to demand it. You've heard me say that, what is it, the 2026, 2022? When's the next election? 2022? This living in Mexico, just, we don't deal with the United States at all down there. 2022, we will have a third party that the young people will create. It will be made up of some young political leaders, but it will be made up of grassroots young people. So we will have that third party. As I see the GOP, I don't believe that Donald Trump will make a comeback. It's not, how shall I say it? I really support some of his policies. I'm getting personal, not psychic. But I don't support his way of doing things. His way of doing things represents the third dimensional power code: fear, intimidation, aggression, divisiveness, competition. All that's going to dissolve. But some of the things he did for the country have great value. But I do not see him as rising, being able to rise. I think they'll put in someone younger to sort of be his mouthpiece. And you've all heard me say that the Biden administration is really being run by Obama. And I still stick to that. Okay?
You brought to light 3 companies, their practices, their negative practices are going to be brought forward. Are there any companies that have positive practices that are a model? I'm
sure they are, but that's not the purpose of that organization. They want people to become aware of the lack of humanitarian practices and the lack of self-respect for people and how things need to shift. So I'm sure there's lots of people. As a matter of fact, I've heard Starbucks is a really progressive company. And they really look out for the people, their employees, and they really are treated with respect and provided for, But I don't have a list. Not yet.
I think maybe that Sarah Horowitz, who is bringing forward the ideas of mutualism, I think just start following her, she'll lead you to groups looking at positive. I mean, I'm not saying she promotes them, but I just think if you start following that research trail, it
What's her
will.
name again?
It's Sarah Horowitz.
Sarah Horowitz.
Do I have that?
Yeah.
Mutualism,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which is some, it's controversial in its way, as are so many concepts, but I think that's a group that would look really positive.
Anyone
We
else?
got a new television network that focused on positive news, rather than turning on this stuff we don't turn on anymore.
No, it's shifting. It's being created. It's just we have to stay focused on what is working. And yes, some of it is baby steps, and some of it is not being done perfectly right. But it's baby steps. Everyone's learning. And to sit and judge it's not enough or it's never enough or look, this isn't happening, doesn't help build the energy towards this new approach.
Can we be coaches for each other, or do we just step back and let each individual?
Of course you can be. It's about connection.
Yes, I'm just saying there are young people who are now stepping back, and I'm not even going to presume to know why, but as I listen to them and I see them stepping out of some efforts, I want to invite them to stay, just hang on for the next meeting,
Mhm.
just contribute something, ask a
Yeah.
question, but I don't know if that is me imposing.
You're giving them a choice. You're giving the choice.
Okay, that's
And
great.
put it in
Got it.
question form. You've heard me say for years, put it in question form. It invites conversation. It invites the narrative. When we make statements, they come across as authoritarian. And a lot of people just come say no because they don't like the authoritarian approach. Ask questions. Well, would you consider coming to the next meeting? I think this one's really good. That's it. You're not imposing it. Okay. And what I ran into with myself, let me see. I guess I was down the Cape on Wednesday. And no, it was here in Cohasset. I like going to Circe's Grotto. Okay. I think that's one yummy place to eat. But I
What's that
walked
called again?
Circe's Grotto. Oh, it is Scituate. It is Scituate. Forgive me. And I walked in, and all the tables were stacked up against the wall, and the chairs were piled up, and you could only have 2 people. All precautionary. If that's the choice, that's fine. But I walked in and said, humph, and walked out because I didn't like the fact that they were still, let's just put it, being as cautious in what they think is prudent on their behalf. I got in the car and I got such a scolding. Somebody said, if you go into reaction about what is being done or not done, then you are feeding that divisive mentality of the 3rd dimension, and you better stop teaching 4th dimension. But I realized, yes, I went into reaction instead of just staying grounded and centered. So I've had my homework for the past week or so.
Have you been back?
What?
Time do you go back?
I haven't been back. But I haven't, truly, I haven't been back because I really have been too busy. I will definitely get there, though, before I leave.
And have a brownie.
Yeah, I like their,
Like everything.
yes, it's so hard to make up my mind. But I really got told off because I went reactive. I made it, they're not doing what I want or what I think I'd like or what I'd prefer. Guess what? They blew the whistle on me and said, time's up. If they're doing it to me, they'll do it to you. I'm no exception. So we have to just be okay with their choices. And I thought I was okay with individual people's choices. but not when I, looking at those tables and chairs, I thought, this is bleak. I'm out of here. I don't like the energy.
And many times it's not a choice. They get autoimmune diseases.
No,
They have
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I said, I don't know their DNA. I don't know their karma. I don't know their identity or spiritual contract. So get off judging, you know? Oh, it really came home. Oh, and they were really not happy. So, okay, any other questions? Because I'm going to wrap this up by reviewing the personal years. And, you know, with more controls coming in, how you react to these rules and regulations is really going to affect what kind of future we create. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, someone made the comment in a workshop the other week. The real issue at hand now is, how do I stay informed and remain sane? And I think the only way to do it is keep out of judging it. Just observe it and say, trust, love, or fear, doubt. Which is it? It's simple, but it's that first step. And remember, diamonds are always formed under great pressure. If we want to become real carriers and workers of light, really let the light fill our being, we have to do some work still. It's that simple. So, here we go. Do you all remember how to figure out your personal year? No. Do you all remember what it is even? No. Okay. In your mind or on a piece of paper, whatever works for you, put down the calendar position of your birth month. So if you're January, you're 1. If you're February, you're 2. March is 3. April's 4. May's 5. September's 9. October, put down 1. November, put down 2. And December, put down 3. Because in numerology, we don't recognize double-digit numbers except for 2 master numbers. Everyone got their number? Okay, now add your day of birth to it.
Do we add those together? It's double digit.
You can use the double digit, and then if you get a double digit, you reduce it. So if you're born April 27th, it would be 4 plus 27 is 31, which is a double digit, not recognized in numerology. 3 and 1 equals 4. Okay? And then add 5. And that's your personal year in numerology. Okay? Everyone got it?
So I just want to make sure mine's 11. So I don't add the 1 and the 1. I just count it as an 11 and add a month to it.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think I have
What?
it. I don't think I have it.
Well,
So my birthday is August 19th.
Okay, so August is the 8th month of the calendar year. Add 8 and 19, and you get 27, which is a double digit. 2 and 7 equals 9. And then add the 5, which is 14, which is 5 personal year. Okay?
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Okay, so here's the thing. I want you to think of your personal number as a tool, a skill for you that you either have to develop or you have to use more frequently in your daily life. So, anyone got a personal year of 1? No ones. Okay. 2. Anyone got a 2? All right. 2 is about receptivity and being open to new ideas, to changes, to what's going on. It's also about trusting your intuition. It is not about going to your head. 2 is the number of the heart. So it's about staying in your heart which means enjoying yourself, being happy, honoring and celebrating who you are.
Susie's a 2 also.
Oh, okay. So it's about connecting, but from the heart. Do what you love. Be who you are. And allow yourself to have. Now, whatever have is up to you. And then you ask yourself, do I have a fear or a block against having? Okay? That's it. Because remember that 5 universal year is saying, choose, change, grow, free yourself. So what's the fear for you as a 2 is usually either trusting your intuition or your judgment, or not judging, but your evaluation and having. Okay?
In 2022, my birthday is 2/22/2022.
Wow.
God, that's hitting me like, I gotta be careful.
No, you got to celebrate.
No, I know, I'm like, that probably will be rocking around.
We expect you to rock it up there. Yeah. That's great. No, we'll talk about that sometime. Who's got a 3 personal year? Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you do the color flower gemstone and song?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay.
Mm-mm. I did them all in the beginning of the year, and that's,
Sorry.
if you ask me, I can probably dig it up from somewhere, but later. Okay. Anyone got a 3? Anyone got a 4? Oh, 4. Good. Okay. So your job for the next 6 months is get practical in manifesting. Okay. Get real. Use common sense, because you're going to get a lot of intuitive hits, and should I is, or not, is going to come up. And this is go to the heart, but get practical. How can I make this happen? What do I need to do to make this happen? And what you've got to do is use the 1, 2, and 3. The 1 of self-reliance, the 2 of trust in your intuition, and the 3 of self-confidence to utilize the 4. Because what's happening now is 3rd dimension was all separate and structured, right? So each number had its own place. Our 4th dimension, we're into flow. We're into non-structure. It's just fluid. So if you're in a 4 year, the universe is saying, I hope you mastered or got the lessons of 1, 2, and 3. If you're an 8, you got to work the 7. It's all fluid now. And each one of those numbers is a skill or is a state that supports the present current year. Does that make sense? Got it? Okay. So the 4, yeah. And it's about feeling really stable and grounded within yourself. So the fear would be, am I willing to claim who I am? Am I willing to live my truth? Okay. And if you're already there, then you have to build it, use it more often. Okay. 5. Okay. Double 5s. So you have a double dip of 5s of choice. So you're really at crossroads this year with your choices, the direction you want to take to your life, what you really desire. I don't like, as you know, using the word want. It means lack. So what is it you're looking for? So you're going to be given lots of opportunities to see where you are and do things differently and expand that way internally. I mean, you did a beautiful job with your brother and when his friend was attacking you kept it, she kept centered, grounded. She didn't get upset or angry. I mean, Laura did a great job, exactly what needs to be done when we're in those confrontational moments. And there was name calling and some not nice stuff. And Laura stayed here. inner self. This is the whole point this year. And come from love. That is your big calling and choice. So the issue or the fear that you might want to look at is, am I afraid to change? Am I afraid to love and appreciate myself enough to make the changes? Okay? Okay. 6. Anyone? 6 is all about love. And of course, the big question is, are you afraid to give love or are you afraid to receive love? What's going to set you free there? Okay? Because this is all about nurturing yourself this year and what you feel and what you desire and allowing yourself to have it because you know you're worthy. Okay? So it's about letting go of all the old messages. Just saying, there's no place for them now. 7. No. 8. Okay, 8. 8, of course, is the power broker. So 8 this year is about expressing and using your power in a creative, connective, dynamic way. It's not, remember the old definition of power was control of the environment through fear and intimidation. That's 3rd dimension. 4th dimension power is feeling good with yourself, which reduces to love. Feeling good with yourself so you manifest and contribute on terms you're happy with. And that's the big. Are you creating? Are you manifesting on terms you're happy with because you feel good in here? The big thing about 8 is 8 just can't help itself. It loves to judge. It's its point of security. So you want to ask yourself, am I afraid to let go of that judgmental process? And the judgmental process is most often inwardly directed at yourself. Okay? It's about letting go. You know, everyone talks about unconditional love. And I really think that's a double. Hmm? No, I mean, to me, love is about accepting and allowing someone to be who they are. That's unconditional. If you really love, when you use it as human love, it's unconditional. If you've got conditions or expectations or whatever going, it's not love, it's attachment. It's the 3rd dimensional codependent way of getting someone in your life that makes you feel safe and secure. And of course, the only thing going now is I got to feel safe and secure in here and just let it out, the love out. Yeah. Does this make sense? Yeah. Okay. 9. Oh, hi. 9. Okay. 9, you've got all those 8 skills working for you, right? 9 is about forgiveness. So have you forgiven yourself? Have you forgiven others? Have you said, especially with yourself, you say, okay, I set up this agreement to work out this with so-and-so. I mean, all the difficulties we have in our relationships, all the sweet moments we have in our relationships, we've agreed to. So there really, on a deeper, higher level, there's no need for forgiveness. But always remember that if there's confrontation, upset, frustration, it comes from fear. Bottom line is letting go of fear. What was that book? Love is Letting Go of Fear. One of the first big books ever written. And that's it. There's nothing to fear. So your thing is to really let go of the past. Let it go. And you move out more publicly into a more humanitarian, love the world place. Because look at you, look at her. She's smiling. Look at the sparkle, the joy when she thinks about it. That's where it's at for you. So let go. We all have to let go of what doesn't work for us what isn't, we aren't in sync with. Those can be scary moments, but you just remember this. Yeah, be here now. So, any questions? Have we covered all the bases? Because this has been fun. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've loved it. And I hope it's given you the bigger picture.